Hello, how are you? I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. Just being silly, why not? Have some fun. So, thank you very much for tuning in this week. I'm just making some little last second adjustments. Just getting my headset on for anybody that decides to enter the studio. I'm just getting used to wearing these, but these headsets are in case somebody is live on screen, which you can do if you wish. You can come live on screen with me, and you can ask questions. I'm just going to see if I can adjust this in any way, but bear with me for 1 second. So we are going to be talking about centering, and here I am looking at myself making these little adjustments at the last second. Oh, that just went yellow. But case in point, right? So I was actually working, you see now it's all orange. I was working today on, like every week I'm trying to improve this stream. And oh yeah, I guess it helps to put the microphone in the right place. And I'm always making these like little last minute adjustments. I'm going to take this headset off because this is messing me up. And I'm always making these little last minute adjustments. And here I am making adjustments to the color because this week it all went very, I don't know, very orange or something. And I didn't like it. So I'm just going to set this to auto white balance so we can just be done with it. But thanks for, there you go. Good enough, right? So the thing is that the camera is facing away from me, so I can't actually, I don't have access to the menu. And I was making adjustments because I'm finicky that way. And I really want to, like, I just feel like I want the absolute best possible case scenario. It just went yellow again, but cancel that. But it's just the way I am. We went back to being yellow again. And what am I going to do? There's a kind of a point where it's like the show must go on. And maybe this week I have a yellow thing. So what I find what's so interesting about doing these live streams is that I'm really intending very much to live in the moment when I'm making these streams. I really do spend the week living my life, working with the people that I'm working with, looking at the trends or what's happening that week. And I feel like I want to create content every week during the live stream. It's going to bug me so much that this is yellow instead of white. But, and I make content that week that really relates to what's happening in people's lives. And hi, Georgia. Thanks for saying hi and for being here. I was actually thinking of you because I feel like this is something that is right up your alley. Hi, Weekly Lydia coming in and saying hi. So Lydia is somebody that's actually in the studio with me. If for all the new viewers, there is a link to StreamYard that is on the Facebook page and in the YouTube stream. And if you follow that StreamYard link, you will come up, and then that's the only way that I can actually put you up on screen. Like you'd be here on this side. And otherwise, I'll see your comments and I can respond to them if you make comments there. I don't know how long I'm going to last looking at this being a yellow stream, but I'm assuming everyone can hear me okay. Thumbs up for everybody that can actually hear my voice. Great. So yes, and let's move into it, okay? Because we're going to be reviewing what centering means, and just going into the banners here. And there's the concept of what is your center, and I think there's something that can be somewhat, should we call that esoteric? I don't think so, but it can be something that's actually very spiritual, but it can be something that's very body experience of what it means to be body-centered. And also it's something that can happen just in your mind. And what does it mean to be mind-centered? And I think that there's like self-centered, that's just coming to me now. Like self-centered kind of sounds like something that's negative. So like, does that mean that you believe that, does a person who is self-centered believe that the entire world revolves around them? Do they make every experience and every word and everything that happens really about themselves? And even if a person does that, why is that really a problem? See, there's a difference between self-centered and like egotistical or arrogant. because self-centered is a place where we put our focus. We focus on ourself, and we focus on placing ourself from a place of integrity and responsibility. We place ourself at the center of the cause of all the things around us. That's personal power. So self-centered can sound like a person's only thinking about themselves, but I think it's really about what is the result, what is the intention and the result of thinking about yourself. Does that bring an awareness that everything is happening in a way that is affecting you? Well, then yes, that's true. Is being self-centered meaning that you're putting yourself at the center of all issues and taking responsibility for that? That sounds like a good thing too. So what is self-centered? What is mind-centered? What is spirit-centered? What is heart-centered? And centering is something that I believe, I believe you can actually go on the internet and find enough information about centering, but I want to take it to the next level. I want to take it to, where do you go if you're already at your center? Is there another one? Is there a deeper center or a wider or more esoteric center, more spiritual, more divine center? Is there always something more center than the center that you believe you're at? So we're going to take a look at that a little bit today. And at some point, if I believe that not a lot of people are watching me live, I will go back into that menu and make this not yellow, because it's just bugging me. I do love that people are checking in and checking out. I can see the viewers kind of popping in and popping out as we're chatting. And, I do appreciate that people are arriving. I was so excited to show my new color and camera and everything that I kept editing it until this turned yellow. But let's get centered, right? So here's the funny thing. Every week, whatever it is that I'm going through in the process of actually resetting up and kind of finessing the quality of the camera and the quality of the sound, it always is somehow impacted by what the topic is, or the topic is impacted by what I'm going through to create the stream that week. And this week, very much, there was a lot of messaging in real time, because that's the beauty of this being a live stream. If you're here live, then I can talk to this being something that is very localized to this time, this week. And centering came up in a big way because of my steady growth and steady state of being at service to you in these live streams, and really thinking in real time of what is the sense and the feeling of what most people need to hear. And I don't pick that up by going out and asking you. I do every week ask you, but I haven't reached a level yet where people are responding with telling me, voting for what they want to hear. So I go by what I feel is naturally happening. Jennifer Goldup is also our weekly truck driver, is saying hello. And Jennifer, where are you driving? She's a long haul trucker and travels all around North America. Whereas this is like a weekly segment of the Hi Lydia, and what name of woman is Jennifer? State is Jennifer Virginia? As she drives through Georgia, there's always some kind of Montana. There's always some kind of name she's driving through at that point. But yeah, check in, and Jen, I hope you're doing well, and check in where are you driving through this week. So I am to some degree actually going to, just because it is bugging me that much, I am going to actually go ahead and play with color while I'm talking to you, because I'm just going to try and multitask. And also, to some degree, I can actually do that fast enough. Okay, so we're going to watch this. I'm going to switch the banner off, turn off the ticker tape, turn to proper auto white balance, I assume, hit select, and then call that, and just stick with that. It's just, and this is exactly my point. Literally, the first thing I typed as the starting point for this talk was centering is actually focusing on the infinite here and now. And this is where I'm taking it to the next level. Focusing on the here and now, you can find mindfulness techniques that are actually one of the top ways to deal with anxiety is actually mindfulness, and really looking into what is happening in the current moment, because anxiety is generally a fear of the unknown future, a fear of not having control over what's coming to you, and a fear of not knowing what kind of pain that we're going to predict. And that will create a anxiety. If we're dealing with guilt, resentment, shame, these are usually things that are about the past, and we may not feel that as anxiety. Anxiety is usually something about the future. So if we are actually moving into the here and now through mindfulness, that does reduce anxiety, simply because anxiety is always about the future, not as much about the here and now. Okay. But when you're already at a place where you've practiced your mindfulness and you're sitting in the here and now, you're breathing, you're relaxing, is there something that still nags you? Is there still a cycling, a circling of the mind? And if there is, it might be that there is a deeper here and now that you can go to. So what is the infinite depth of that? And let's see if we can touch upon that today. Okay. And just because it's live and I like sharing my process through authenticity and just some vulnerability, this color that's to my right where I'm sitting is yellow, but on screen, it's kind of green and it bugs me. And so this is an example of how I go through so much. And the thing is that on the camera, which is up there, it's flawless. But on the live stream, which is down here on my screen, it's green. And I'm like, I went through this days and hours of perfecting this light, and then it shows up on the screen as green. And so technology. But because of this level of process of what I've gone through, as I'm writing content about centering, it kind of is inevitable that I hit this like live process with you of having to practice just letting stuff go and being in the here and now. It's kind of this like very quantum spiritual creation that I'm manifesting every time I come up with a content for that week. It ends up being the process that I end up sharing with you live. Okay. So as I was saying about anxiety, when you are completely in the infinite here and now, you can't have anxiety. It's not possible, because there is no future in the here and now. There is no comparison. We'll talk about that. But the thing is that it's a monk-like ability to be truly in the infinite here and now. That at every level of mindfulness, from that state of mindfulness, you can then become more mindful of the next level of mindfulness. From every place of full relaxation and surrender and release, from that place, once you habituate and normalize to that, that becomes your reference point for the next level of relaxing, the next level. So what is there an end? Can you reach an infinite? And until you actually do reach a perfectly infinite here and now of stillness, then anxiety is something that, or stress or worry is something that is just something we can measure on a scale. Like we can reduce it through this practice of being centered and in the moment. But until you reach that infinite center, then it may not be perfectly gone down to zero, but it is possible. I do believe, and we actually had a person one week, you know who you are, looking at your face, that went to a -10. Like we have a 10 tons of anxiety down to 0 anxiety, where we say you're not experiencing anxiety, and people will go into the minus, like as much as -10, where there's empowerment, there's hope, there's encouragement, there's like wanting to move into the future rather than being scared of the future. And that would be empowerment, the opposite end of anxiety. So in the infinite here and now, there is no comparison, because if you are only here, there is no there to reference. If you're only looking at exactly right now and now and now, actually, one of my teachers was given a watch, and if you look at the watch, there's no numbers. They just say now, like now o'clock, now o'clock, now o'clock. It just says now all the way around his watch, and it's ticking away, and it's like, what time is it? Oh, it's now. So just always, right? And there's no distance. So here, of course, is only one place. And how do we know that we're here? Our minds tend to like to move in 3D space, and reference where here is by saying I'm not there. And so the first thing we need to look at is stopping the comparison. It requires complete surrender to what is here and what is now, and not trying to compare or change or move or shift. Like there's just only what is here and now. So it'd be kind of like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. You decide. Well, what if we get this? What if we get that? I don't know. Well, we got all these options. I got 12 options. And there's, same thing with even like going to get ice cream. I got 31 flavors. I don't really know. You try a few, but at some point, dinner shows up, the ice cream gets handed to you, and that's what you got to deal with. And your focus then can move to what's in front of you. And you just stop thinking about the other options. I mean, like, that's what you got, that the options have ceased. They've been taken away from you to some degree. Okay. That's kind of like what being in the here and now is like. It's like there is nothing else to choose anymore if you're truly in the moment. And I think that's really what scares people actually about being in the infinite here and now is there is no other choice once you're there. You're surrendering to what is, some people call it the joy of the now, the joy of the present moment. Like, how do we more enjoy what we have in front of us when we stop comparing it to other things? Okay. All right. I'm saying okay and right because it's for me to like put a little check mark in my head that I said something and made a point, but it's an internal process as I go through this. The result of the practice of centering is an experience of a stillness in the mind and in the body, a relaxation, a stillness where there's no more processing or thinking. And that comes from not needing to change anything, not trying to make different choices, but really fully surrendering into the choices that have led you to here. And wanting to stay here long enough that we're not trying to process the next choices. And this is the kind of thing that does lead to what a lot of my clients talk about as being cycling, like cycling thoughts and cycling processes. They can't, it leads to insomnia, or it leads to disconnection and withdrawing from situations because the mind is just cycling too much. They can't be present. So when you do reach this centering, you do tend to, or people generally say that they feel a peace, a calmness, a freeing of the mind. Some people refer to it as being like a weight lifted. And that weight that gets lifted is really worry and anxiety of the unknown. Because in the here and now, like, all you have is what is known. So if we stay in the here and now long enough, where we achieve I'm going to say a state of union, a state of peacefulness, a state of full acceptance and connection to what is here and now, a sense of understanding of all stillness comes. And from a place of stillness, we become observers of things. We become much more aware of ourselves being still, but way more aware of everything that's not still. So the quieter you try, the more you try and fall asleep, the more you start to notice that there's a dripping tap somewhere. The more you try and be quiet and still your mind, the more you're going to notice there's a clock that's ticking that you just don't even hear throughout the rest of the day. The more that you try and remove movement in your brain, the more you will become aware of things that are moving in your body and your awareness. So it is a commitment to not engaging, to just understand and observe and state, oh, I hear cars outside right now. I'm aware that the chair is moving, but I'm looking for stillness. This is what I'm deciding to focus on. And when you stay in this state long enough, an awareness comes of all stillness in all places. And the stillness that is within us, then becomes known and a knower to all other stillness. And once we reach an infinite stillness, an infinite here and now, a truly deep connection with creation surfaces into the understanding, into your wisdom, into your experience. There comes a place of just such infinite connection with this stillness, this peace that comes that brings so much joy from the connection to stillness that a bit of a paradox happens and a blissfulness surfaces. It's this bliss of being so held by the moment that it becomes effortless at this point. And I believe that's where the bliss really surfaces, is that the body truly feels present and relaxed and effortless. And this bliss is the sense of being so held by the connection to all things. And in yoga, this word is called ananda, which literal translation means bliss. It's a Sanskrit word. Ananda is bliss. And that's a very wonderful thing to experience. And I'm very grateful to have experienced this through this practice that we're talking about, or these practices. So we have a mind, body, and a spirit. Each one of them can be independently moving. I can have quite a still mind from just doing this with my hand, because, well, do we call it still? I can have a still spirit by having a looping mind and a repeating body action set to a program, so that I no longer am really thinking about it anymore. There creates this paradox of like, focusing on stillness is an active practice of focusing on something that is inactive. It's a bit of a paradox. And so choosing to stop choosing, moving into stillness, these are like the kind of paradoxes that kind of just surface when we're talking about things that are very divine or very connected to a source-like field of intelligence. And the only way to really sustain, from a human perspective anyway, the only way to truly sustain peace is from a state of understanding the balance with things being unpeaceful around us. Like, if you try and make everything quiet just so that you can be quiet, it will never happen. But if you surrender to the observation that things aren't quiet and just choose to not do anything about it other than be aware, then your mind becomes peaceful from the non-judgment of the amount of noise around you, as an example. And so we start with looking at our most dense form and moving to the most subtle form. So we work with breath, body, then look at emotions, mind, because that's the nervous system in the body. We look at movement. Then we start looking at an awareness of thought forms and thought movement, so more subtle energy. And that starts to move towards intention, intellect, wisdom, moving into the spirit of experience of connection or disconnection, stillness versus action, acceptance versus judgment, moving into then states of universal energy forms, getting more and more subtle into just the subtle vibrations of the universe. And with time and intention, into an even more subtle awareness of nothingness, like the peace of nothingness. So I would like to spend most of today's stream doing practices. because telling a person who's sitting in a subway that they can actually connect to silence and stillness in a subway that's moving with all these and bells going off, and telling them it's kind of hard to believe unless you achieve it. Okay. So stillness is not something that genuinely is. Same with bliss. It's not something that can generally be described in a way that can be truly understood. It can be described, but only the direct experience will create understanding. Okay. So let's just move into a series of techniques and practices. So this is a live stream, and I love to hear your feedback as we go through these practices, your challenges, what's working, not working for you. And keep in mind that we're going to be working on body, mind, spirit level of exercises. And some of these might immediately work for you. And some of them might need to be done in a different order. It might be that calming your breath, which is more subtle, relaxes your body. But it might be that you have too much body pain, so you can't calm your breath. So then we flip those, bottom up, top down. And we'll take a look at that as we go through the practices, because you can then reflect on each of the techniques that we're going to be doing and see which one had the biggest impact, which one had the next biggest impact and the next biggest impact. And then you can just change the order of these for yourself in whatever the situation is that you might be in the future. This is being recorded, even though we're live now. So the techniques are, I'll put them on the screen. If you ever watch the replay of this, or if I ever get to watching the replay of this, I will actually put chapter markers in YouTube so you can actually jump to these. We'll get there soon. I'm still on trying to make the screen not look green. After that, I'll get to putting chapter markers in YouTube, but all in good time. Okay. So you might notice I'm going to start with just kind of adjusting my body and looking. That's for me, that's where I start. I don't go right to breath. I go to like, okay, just kind of shake it off, and I deal with the body first. Okay. But the very, very first technique is understanding permission. The thing that is stopping you from being in peace is that you've made a choice that action is a higher priority. That paying attention to all this for you, you've chosen it's a higher priority than letting it all go. So that's something that you've chosen, which means you now have to give yourself permission to pause. So we're not necessarily changing your overall life priorities here. We're just talking about in this current moment, is it a greater priority to me to keep working on how green my screen is, even though the lights are white? Let it go, Peter, right? This is my point. I'm doing this on purpose. Then is it more important for me to say, I give myself permission to set this aside, focus on the techniques. I give myself permission to accept this is the way it is right now. And for this moment, it's actually a higher priority that I'm looking at you and not the color on my screen. So it really starts with this cognitive, intellectual choice of empowerment, of just authority, your inner authority, your choice to say, I have the right to say, I'm putting this aside. I have the right to pause somebody who's nagging me and go, no, time out. I have a right to say, I'm uncomfortable with the energy in this party and in this room. And I go and I say, I have to go to the bathroom, and go hang out in the bathroom and just like relax. Like, it's our inner authority to say, I have permission to remove myself from a situation that is making me not peaceful, because as a whole, I want for this centering and this stillness to be my greater priority. So, technique, simple as this. I'm connecting into what I understand to be my personal choice. I experience this as my inner adult, or my inner warrior, or my inner king or queen. I experience this as my inner choice maker. And I recognize that I have choice, that I have authority, And I'm giving myself permission to just set this all aside and just let it go for now and connect into my center. Permission granted and received. So what I'm going to do is guide you by me saying, I am, I am. This way, if you were to listen back to this, you will hear it be like a guided meditation so that your own mind is saying, I am becoming aware of my breath. I am. Okay. So I'm speaking to you while I'm doing this live so that I can transmit the energy and the clarity and the calm of my being through this video to you so you can feel it and you can see that I am doing it, because our bodies are very sensitive to lies and to truth. So by me actually truthfully doing it, you're more likely to actually mirror my modeling. Okay. And so follow along with the words that I say in the I am statements, that you give yourself permission to say that to yourself. I am becoming aware of my breath. And let's go. I was prepared this week. I didn't have to call for Michelle to bring me a glass of water. I even bought a new, for anybody that's here every week, I even bought a new humidifier just so that the air is less dry in here. Like this is a high priority to me to be here with you guys every week. So I'm doing everything I can to make this the best for all of us. And I hope it helps. So another glass of water just appeared. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome. All right. I allow myself to take a cleansing breath. I breathe in deeply. And I just relax. I enjoy this time that I have with my breath. I'm relaxed by just having this moment to just take a breather, to take a moment and breathe and relax and let whatever energy that is affecting me, just I let it go. I'm aware that my breath is not as deep and as slow as it could be, and I'm okay with that. And because I'm aware that I could be breathing slower and deeper, I'm going to choose to do that now. I'm aware that as I slow my breath and as I lengthen my exhale more than my inhale, I'm aware that that brings me more and more relaxation and calm. So I'm going to make it even longer and slower. And I'm aware that if I am paying attention to my breath, it can sometimes be a distraction to just breathing. So after I'm mindful and make some conscious breathing actions, I now choose to just relax and breathe naturally. And now I'm moving to an awareness of my body and whatever sensations I'm experiencing. What are my senses aware of? I'm aware of the light that's in my eyes. I am aware of the sounds that are around me. What are 3 sounds that I'm aware of? And the sounds will be different for every one of us, wherever we are, I hear a fridge. I hear people talking outside. I hear air flowing. And those show me that I am safe because those are normal and predictable. If I hear a kid being loud, I know that's normal. If I hear dogs barking outside, I know that's safe and normal. If I hear sirens going off, alarms, I know that's safe and normal. And so I relax. I am aware of the smells around me. I smell food. I smell the chair that I happen to be on right now. And I'm aware of tension in my body. And my body tells me what to do about it. My body moves, shifts, itches and scratches. My body shakes and releases. And I give myself permission to do all these things because I'm aware of them. And I'm aware that they are things that as I name them and accept them, they relax. And that brings me more and more centered into my current experience. I'm aware of my posture on my chair or bed, or if I'm standing. I'm aware of my freedom of movement or even restriction of movement. And I accept that. That's normal. That's just what's here and now. And I'm okay with that. And I let that go. I relax my hands so they're not tense. I relax my jaw and my tongue. I relax my neck. Whew. And my shoulders. I relax my forehead and my eyebrows and my eyes. And I relax my ears. And I become aware of any tension in my feet and I move them around and I relax my feet. I let them stretch and wiggle for a moment. And I acknowledge that they are feeling what they're feeling and I let that go. I'm in acceptance. I'm in acceptance of all of what I am sensing. And I have no need to change it or judge it. I'm just aware. That brings me safety. It's familiar. And it shows me I'm safe. So I just let it go. As I'm calming and calming deeper and deeper, relaxing more and more through this practice of mindfulness and awareness in the here and now, I become aware of any thoughts that surface, any nagging thoughts, any memories that are in the here and now. Right now, I'm thinking of what I'm thinking of. That's me. Because I'm flowing this, unscripted. I'm just aware that my mind is calming and clearing so that I'm ready to hear what the next words are for me to say. And if I'm aware of words that people have said to me, I just acknowledge that they're there and I set them aside. If I'm aware of a to-do list or something that I don't want to forget, I write it down and I set it aside. If my mind is cycling on negativity, I say, I recognize this thought. I know it's there. And I'm giving myself permission to just set it aside and relax, just for now. And as I Acknowledge and name each thought and ask them and tell them to just set aside for now. I can feel my body more deeply relax. I can feel my chest relaxes. I can feel my rib cage and my spine relaxes as I acknowledge the thoughts and say, I will get back to that soon. I set you aside. I can feel relaxing simply coming upon me just from relaxing my thoughts. And I like that. That's helpful. I like this experience. And I want more of it. And I'm aware that as I name or write down and acknowledge each thought, I have less of them. And I like that. I like that peacefulness in my mind. But I also like knowing that I'm acknowledging and remembering each of the thoughts so that they feel like they're being heard and not forgotten. I'm aware of whatever may be coming or going around me. And I am capable of closing a door or moving if I feel like a cat or a dog is going to disturb me. I'm aware if somebody's going to come into the room. I'm aware if something's going to change. And I either simply accept that or make adjustments if I need to. I'm doing it from a place of peacefulness and calm now because I have done this centering and focusing on the here and now of what I am. And it's easier now for me to relate to or connect with whatever surrounding is best for me. And I'm free to move if I have to. If the surroundings have become now more of a disturbance to me simply because I am calmer, then I can choose to just say, that's interesting, and become more calm if I can't change them. And if I can change myself or them, I'll make those changes and come right back to this, carrying this centerness with me everywhere I go. And now we're going to move into a technique of physical centering. It's a bit difficult for me to do right here, but I'll do the best I can to show you. So I am sitting, and I think most of us are, but some of us are lying down. One of us might be driving and listening like this is a talk show. But the sensation is of finding your spine and sitting up so that the spine can move. Okay, so you can see even if I was driving, and I actually do this while I'm driving, if I have my hands on the wheel, I'll move my back away from the seat behind me, and without taking my focus off the road, I can just sway in different directions. But the goal here is circling around what is a center. Now I can do this with just my head, circling around where my neck is connected to my body. I can do like this in each direction, left and right. I can do it with my body. So it looks more like this. Left and right. So this is a full practice and technique. So I'll talk about some of the variations of it. Jennifer Goldup is officially in Nebraska, coming east from California. Hopefully this is helping you, Jennifer, as you're driving, to relax you, help you enjoy your drive more. So this technique of circling your body can be small circles or they can be big circles. So I'm doing this with my body or with my head, like this. These would be big circles in my head. Wow, I'm really feeling that. Click, click, click. and this would be small circles. Now, the idea here is that the circling brings you awareness. If there's tension, if this is too stiff, then the idea is to relax with the circling. The circling is to allow for more movement and to allow for slower movement. Okay, so if we're starting with tight little circles, the goal is slow, bigger, smoother circles. I could do it with my hands. This is an example of doing it with my arms. I can do it with my wrists. This is an experience that guides the body into finding a center point. All of these rotations, all of these movements involve centering on what is literally your physical center. So this is physical technique. Okay. The idea of just going forward and back or left and right as bending or stretching, that's good for opening, but we're not doing physical like stretching with this exercise. The idea here is more of an experience of center. So it's not about the stretch or the results of the stretch. It's about the experience of where is the center point that I'm circling around. So I'm not thinking so much about the movement of my head in this example. I'm thinking more about that singular point that I'm wrapping around. So even if I just use a finger, it's not about how big or how fast my finger is moving. The idea is to really focus on this singular point that I'm wrapping around. So the focus is on the center in a centering technique, which we're doing. If you're standing, you can do the same thing with keeping your feet still on the ground and doing a Michael Jackson kind of just moving around your feet without them moving. Kind of like that. I have to go like that so it focuses. And then in that case, the center between your feet is then the focus, and you're looking to circle around it or flow around it to bring a practice of telling your brain that you're sending your energy and awareness and presence, your presence and focus on a center point. And that's this circling exercise. The next level of that would be to breathe into the center and practice focusing on what center is and what does it mean to send breath there. Now, this is very much an intellectual or an intentional action. So if I'm breathing into the center of, let's say, my arm, so that would be this point here that I'm centering. If I'm breathing into this and I'm looking at it, then it's an intentional practice. I want to really feel the sensation of where that rotation point is and acknowledge that it's the center of this circle that I'm making around it. So the relationship of everywhere and here, focusing on the here in this practice. I hope that's clear. If anybody has any questions about that or feedback, please let me know and I'll give some guidance. We'll move on to the next technique. So in this technique, after doing a practice of becoming aware of the sensations in our body, the sensations of thoughts and movement, we're going to become aware of the sense of an emotion. But we don't really pay too much attention to emotion as much as we do that it is an experience. And the word emotion might be a way of describing the experience. So if I feel tense and shaky and a little bit sweaty, somebody might call that nervous. Somebody might call that scared. Somebody might call that super excited, like eager. So the emotion that we tie to the physical experience is very subjective. So we try to just pay attention to what is the experience as we can describe it, observe it, as anybody could observe it. And it's okay to have an emotion tied to that. But generally an emotion is really just a set of physical experiences, and then we just label it like anxiety. So for whatever experience that you're having or emotion that you're having, take a deep, you can follow me. I'm going to do this once and you can follow me. I'm going to take a deep breath. And then I'm going to choose to make some kind of sound that represents the experience I'm describing. So I'm going to invent here that I've got tension in my jaw. What does that sound like when I exhale? Okay. What if I'm smiling and I'm in a really good mood? I'm going to just do this live. Like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take on a state. What is something that I'm really happy about? I have a memory of something I'm really happy. That's going to make me smile. It's going to make my heart open. So I'm going to breathe in. I'm going to make a sound for that. Ooh. So that's the sound in that moment. In that moment. So the practice here is we're going to pick one experience, whether it's tense, whether it's anxiety, sadness, maybe it's happiness, whatever that might be. We're going to do this practice of breathing in and making a sound that the body intuitively makes in the moment. And we're going to do that over and over again, and to show you that the emotion changes every time you make a sound to represent the state that you're in. So your word for the emotion might keep changing. The state of tension might keep changing. So the practice here is to simply focus on the expression of the sound. So to give an example so that you can follow along, because you're going to have your own examples, you're welcome to type them out if you wish, but let's take an example of you have a project at work or at school, and there's pressure on you to get it done well and get it done properly. Okay. Any kind of deadline type thing. Your kids have to go to bed by a certain time. You really want to make sure that they have everything they need. Or your partner has asked you to do something. You feel like you have a pressure to do it at a certain quality. So whatever kind of, let's pick a tension or a worry. Okay. So I'm going to go with making sure I finish this stream on time and doing a good job at it, and being in the present moment with it. So I'm going to just think that thought. I'm going to become aware of whatever my body, my breath, all the things we've done leading up to this exact moment in the stream. What are the senses I have when I think of that? Is that tension? Is that fun? I'm just going to just breathe into whatever the senses are and the movement and thoughts, and I'm going to just make a sound. That's my sound. Do it immediately again. Check in. Now, what's the sense I have? What's the feeling I have? Breathe in again. And just become aware of the sound. Take a pause. Ask yourself now, has anything changed? Acknowledge what it is now. Breathe in. It's smoothing out for me. Now, for you, it might get more and more agitated before it smooths out. That's okay too. The goal is that whether it goes more agitated and then releases, or if it just immediately releases, it's still going to be a release if you keep doing it. So let's do it a couple more times for anybody that needs to. Okay, getting it done on time, doing it well, knowing that I'm okay and safe. So I can see it going back up to being a bit more tense as I'm making the sounds. I'm going to keep with it so that you can see what the experience is like. I acknowledge that it's there. I acknowledge what I have to do. I acknowledge that I will figure it out. I acknowledge that I will be okay. It's okay. Okay, and back to normal breathing. So there's a real live experience of that. Checking in on comments because it's... Okay, that's a good one. Jennifer Goldup says she's going to find another snowstorm. So keep breathing. You might have to breathe a few more times on that one. Keeping in mind that in Jennifer's situation, that's actually a real time here and now. Okay? So if you're moving through an experience and you breathe that out and you come to a place of peace for a few minutes, New information is going to come 5 minutes later. That's a different here and now. In that here and now, you might get some more sounds. You might have some more breathing that you have to do. That's okay. This is a steady practice of something coming into the here and now. And instead of being worried about it coming, it's developing the groundwork to be steadily dealing with every moment in the here and now. So you're constantly at peace. That's the whole point here. So thanks, Jen. Yes, you're right. Thanks, Jen. That's helpful. Hopefully for everyone. All right, let's move on to the next technique. Placing thoughts and experiences on the back shelf and looking at the space that they were just consuming. This one's pretty quick. It's as simple as this. I don't really have this concern right now because I just did the breathing technique, but I'm supposed to finish this in 3 minutes. And I actually could if I wanted to, but I don't really feel like it. But, but let's just say I have that thought. I'm going to say, you know what? I need to keep moving forward. And the thought of 3 minutes from now is not useful to me right now. So I'm going to just put that thought on the back shelf. I'm going to put it on the back burner, in the back seat, on the back box. I'm going to put it behind me. I'm going to put it somewhere backwards. Okay? And I'm just going to put it on the shelf, and I will deal with that soon if I have to, because 3 minutes from now, that worry may not even be a worry anymore. It may not even be a situation. Okay? So we're just putting it on the back shelf so that we can focus on the here and now and what needs to be done so that the worry isn't actually a worry when that time comes. And that's really it. Okay? That is the practice. So if you have to name something for yourself, go ahead. Oh, that person's going to, be asking me if I got this done on time or whatever. That's not until like 4 hours from now. I'm going to put the worry about that on the back shelf. And right here and now, what is the next step I need to take that feels good, aligned, peaceful, makes me relax? I'm going to take that action. That's it. Hopefully that's clear enough. Comments are coming in, so I'm just going to take that break to see that. Yeah, changes all times. This is why we're being in the moment and practicing that. So we have that empowerment to deal with every situation as it comes. So we don't have to have anxiety about what might come. We just know that we can deal with it in the moment. And here's a set of techniques to do that by centering into your peacefulness instead of into your mind. Every time, just because I like talking, I'm just letting you know that every time in my program, every time I go to a comment, when I come back, I lose wherever the banner was. So I'm going to have to talk to the staff and just let them know that they should keep the banner that was showing highlighted, because I now have to read all my banners just to try and remember which one I was even showing you. Well, lo and behold, it's the last one. Boop. Okay. So I actually am on time. Self-reflection technique. Oh, just to be more complete here. Looking at the space that the worry that I just put onto the back burner. It's important to look at when I said to you, so what do I need to do here and now? What am I so worried about? Okay, so if there is a stress or worry, I have to say, okay, I am stressed and worried about, let's say, getting something done well and on time. That's going to create tension in me. Now I'm suddenly becoming aware that there's tension. My breath is changing. Okay, whoa. Just pause that. Let's not go into that. Make a sound, let it go. Okay, I have a stress and a tension about getting something done. I'm going to put that on the back burner. Okay, I'm just putting it on the back shelf. But what do I need to do about that right now? What space was that consuming? So, as an example, if it's creating tension in my body, that nervousness is taking space in my body and it's stopping me from taking the action. Freezing, as an example. So when I move a thought or worry out of my mind, put it on the back shelf where it can come back wherever it needs to, but I'm just going to set it aside. So with the intention of focusing, I want to immediately focus on the place where I just moved that from. So if I have a thought and I am noticing that that thought is consuming a place in my mind, so I'm starting to get cycling thought, but what if they this and what if they that and what if I can't and what if I whatever? Okay, whoa. I got to pause because that's not letting me take action. Put that on the back shelf. Pausing, putting it on the back shelf, kind of the same thing. You do want to kind of feel like you're putting it backwards. So put it back there. I know where it is. I haven't lost it. Don't have to worry about that. Okay, that was really busying my mind. I need to kind of feel like I'm relaxing that out. And what's in that space now? What do I need to put there? One thing at a time. In that example of the cycling, pick the next step. That's what I'm putting back. What is the very next thing I need to do? Check again if that anxiety is lower. What's the next thing I need to do? Put it backwards, check the next thing, and let's make that the cycle. It's a cycle of baby steps forward so that the anxiety doesn't actually come true. Just to really finish that in a powerful way. Last one for this week. Thanks to everyone, by the way, for all the thumbs ups and the little happy faces and for being here. It really makes my life a better life having you guys in it. So thank you so much. Last technique. So self-reflection, I don't even remember which one this is. What do we need to control and what can we trust? Okay. So the thing about anxiety is that it's a fear of the future because of the unknown. But if we have full control over the future, if we have control over what can or cannot happen, we have a lot less anxiety because we just know what to do about it if it goes wrong. So the example I give like all the time is I live on the 12th floor of a building. Fire alarms go off like almost every week around here. There's never been a fire, but there's never been a fire that ever made us leave the building anyway. And so every time a fire alarm goes off, I have to say to myself, is this the time I got to leave? But I don't have anxiety about it because I know there's a plan and I have to hear about it every week. Fire alarms going off, the fire team's coming, stay in your apartment for further action. That's the plan. Stay there until we tell you otherwise. If there's a fire, I know what to do if there's smoke. I know what to do I know where the stairwell is. I know what to do with all of it. So now I have less anxiety about it because there's a plan. I have some form of control. And so as we're taking an anxiety or a stress out of our brains and setting it on the back shelf, what is the next step right now is a sense of control. What can I even do about it? What if there's nothing I control? What if I'm just so anxious about what they're going to say and what they're going to think because I can't change what they're going to think and what they're going to do? Okay. What if I'm just forced to go into a boardroom and make a presentation about something I'm not ready for, and I just know they're going to know that I'm not ready for that presentation, and I can't change whether or not they're going to be happy or sad about it? Then what? So what can I trust? Do I trust, there it is, that no matter what happens, that I'm going to be okay? It's going to just be okay in the long run. Because if I'm not actually, in the case of, let's say, the business one where I'm making presentations, if I'm not up all night doing the work and actually getting prepared, do I really care what they think? I mean, ultimately, if I was so stressed about what they were going to think or do, there's two levels of this. If I was so stressed, I would totally freeze and go blank and not know what to do and just stare at the wall. Okay, there is that. But the more I care, the more it might make me freeze, more make you freeze. If that's your fight, flight, or freeze response, if that's your way, make me just want to quit because it's too much stress. That's the flight. Okay. It might make me just blame everyone else for giving me this. This is not fair. And there's not enough time how can anybody expect me to do a good job? And it just blame. That's fighting. Okay. But whatever the case may be, if I really am focused in the here and now on what it is that I truly want as an outcome after that moment that I'm anxious about, let's say the presentation, if I'm really focused, if you are very focused on what you want to create, it now gives some clarity in this simple here and now of asking, what is it? If I remove the anxiety and put everything on the back shelf, what am I genuinely feeling? What am I genuinely scared of? What is it that I'm scared of losing control of? And what is the result of losing control of that? If the result is that I lose my job, do I trust I'll just find another one? If the result is that they're unhappy, do I trust somebody's going to say something about it? If I know it's just and I have the strangest stories from some of my clients of how abusive and horrible their work environments are. And if they just full on know that they're going to just get abused no matter how great the presentation is, then they're moving into a place of expectation, familiarity. And it's like, well, I know what I can control in myself as a reaction to that. I know how to ignore it. I know how to just let them blab and just not let it affect me. So I trust that I'm going to be okay. Because ultimately, the biggest fear is not trusting that we're going to be okay. It's not really a fear of lack of control. It's a fear that when we do lose or lack control, it's going to lead to pain. But if I trust that it's going to be okay, we've done this in other weeks, there is a belief that something is going to offset that through the law of polarity, that for everything that goes wrong, something good is going to come out of it. For everything that I screw up, it's going to show me how much I really didn't want to do it right in the first place, or how much I could be more prepared. There's this whole series of things it could teach me, and it can teach all of us. And the more you focus on what you trust, the more your brain will start to find ways to see the good in things. And it's really hard to see the good and the good outcome and the good alignments and the good flow of life if we don't move to a place of centeredness and peacefulness in the here and now, because we'll get caught up in the negative loop and never be able to see the good outcomes. So the general reason for doing these practices is to bring yourself to a place where you are taking a break from the negative, creative thought patterns of non-reality. In the here and now, you can have some distance, some clarity through stillness of the mind and the negative and the unknown. And in this current moment, we can find trust in ourselves that inspiration will surface or clarity will just surface from clearing away all of the movement, all of the attachments, all of the thought that it has to be perfect, all of the fear of outcomes, by just setting everything on the back burner, connecting into our body and our breath, and just relaxing to the moment, and believing that the next step we need to make, even if it's to Google what the next step is or ask somebody, it just becomes clear in that moment what the very next step is when we just put everything aside for a moment and pause. Bring all of our focus just into the here and now and what is happening in us. Pause that. Relax that. See the business in the mind. Pause that. Write it down. Literally writing a thought down pauses it on paper. It can't move. Pause the breath even. Pause everything. Bring a sense of stillness and give yourself permission in that stillness to start back into the thoughts slowly, one by one, and clarity on what to do with each one can come from that. Any questions? Okay. Any reflections? None of this worked for me? Any like thumbs downs? All feedback is welcome. All right. Gonna hide that. Boop. And yeah, okay. So we have something coming through. We're gonna take a sorry. take a look and see if there's any. Great. Okay. Great comments. People are happy. So thank you very much. Even if you tried all of this, because this is live and you're kind of like taking it in while you're trying to do it, or maybe you're driving a giant truck through a snowstorm in Nebraska or wherever. Like, I mean, maybe you just can't get deep enough into this. So go back over this repeatedly, keep trying these techniques, and then you'll actually get the benefits, maybe not during the live stream, but maybe like as you come back to this and try these out. The key here is to actually really do it regularly. Keep making your awareness of your reactions a priority. Keep making an awareness of things that are happening around you in the here and now a priority over thinking about the future, because your brain will create that as a habit. So when somebody goes, "Oh no, I have terrible news," you'll be like, "Give me a moment." Okay, go on. It's like, it kind of feels like that. It's like we don't immediately react to things as much if we're so in the practice of being still. The chances of aggravating somebody who's constantly meditating is much slimmer than somebody who keeps changing between meditating and anxiety and meditating and anxiety. Because a body that focuses on being in the here and now as its steady practice, that habit is where it's trying to return to. But if we practice meditating, then being anxious, and then meditating and being anxious, then our body has permission to swing. And we have to remove that permission. Say, look, I'm not giving myself permission to react to this. I'm only allowed to take one breath after somebody talks to me. I have super amazing news. Give me a moment. Okay, I'm ready. Oh no, my tire just popped and I'm about to go crazy about it. Give me a moment. Literally, I've actually done this. Give me a moment. Okay, I know what to do. Like, in that one moment, I have saved lives. It can make that much of a difference. In that one moment, I've had people say something and I'm about to say something back. And I'm like, give me a moment. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm just not going to say that. And I could see that, I avoid catastrophe level of like relationship problems or, hurting somebody's feelings. Like that one little moment, that practice of that stillness, when you do it so often, it triggers your brain into bringing clarity. And this is the proper and best next step because it aligns with this peacefulness and centeredness. So that becomes the next step. When you're focusing on that centeredness and peacefulness, that becomes the first choice that your body makes from this practice. All right, that's enough for me. Felt like I needed to squeeze that in. And I think it was a good one. My next steps is to be here and now with figuring out why this light looks green, even though it's literally this color, which looks green. Apparently I can't show you yellow. So I don't know. We'll figure this out. But thanks a lot. And thanks for being with me. And Leota, hey, so not everyone knows Leota. I'm going to add you to the stream. I want you to just wave your hand for us all. Leota, say hi.
Oh, you're getting the camera, Leota.
There you go. So Leota is a regular. Leota has actually been in on this stream with Lydia since week 1. We're on week 13 now. Can only imagine how many great things Leota is learning because of how great her mom is treating her. Thanks, Lydia and Leota. We'll see you all next week.
I have a boyfriend when I was in kindergarten. I have a boyfriend, and it's I have a boyfriend.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Boyfriend for a really long time now.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend for.
Oh, look at that. Just trying to figure it all out as we go, eh? All right. Good night.